Travel isn't just about destinations, it's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Time for us to focus on travel and tourism, and today we are taking a look at the concept of all-inclusive holiday packages. And as I said at the start of the show, I'd love to hear from those of you who have already experimented with them, whether your holiday was a wonderful success or perhaps a disappointment if you thought it didn't live up to its promise. Either way, tell us where you went, what was included in that all-included package, and whether it really did deliver the holiday you expected. You can pop through a WhatsApp to 072 567 156. Why are we talking about this? Well, I was interested to see some press reports late last week that construction is getting on very well on the KwaZulu-Natal North Coast on South Africa's first Club Med resort. If you've not heard about this before, it's being built at Tinley Manor, which is, I understand, not far from Ballito. 2 billion rand project, and it's going to include a hotel as well as luxury villas and conference facilities. And they're saying it should, if all goes according to plan, be ready for business in July next year, 2026. Now, of course, Club Med were the very pioneers of the concept of the all-inclusive package. They've been doing it for decades already. It's now something that many other groups have embraced as well, but they were the first to come up with this proposal that the guest pays a set fee upfront and everything is included, not just your accommodation and your meals, but also your activities, your drinks, etc., etc. Well, it's almost everything. If you've been on one of these trips, you'll know it's never quite absolutely everything. But I have to say, we're not a family who often stays in hotels and resorts because we generally prefer to self-cater. But on the odd occasion that we have done this kind of travel, we have found it really, really lovely because it has been not only a cost-effective way of holidaying, you know exactly what you're going to spend and there are no hidden surprises. But for me, perhaps the nicest thing about it is you don't have to think constantly about converting currency and can we really afford to have that extra ice cream, or, you know, should we wait another hour before we order a drink because the drinks bill is going up, etc. It's a very relaxing sense of knowing that everything is already covered and you can really just let go and relax and do what you want when you want. That was our very positive experience of the concept. I'm aware, though, that others have found the costs were higher than what they felt the value was that they got. So either way, if you've been there, done this, share your thoughts with us with a voice note to 072 567 1567 or perhaps a text if you prefer. But to talk to us more about the concept and how to make it work for you and the pros and cons and the things to be mindful of if you are considering this way of traveling, it's a great pleasure to welcome on the line Lynette Machiri, who is the Customer Experience Leader at Flight Centre South Africa. Lynette, lovely to have you with us. Thanks for your time this afternoon.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Pippa. It's my pleasure, and good afternoon to all your listeners.
Lovely to have you on the show. Let's start with introducing this concept to somebody who's never encountered it before. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about how an all-inclusive package tends to work and what it usually includes?
Well, I think probably maybe just to define, the all-inclusive, and it's usually for like hotel resorts, so you think your holiday accommodations, right? So it's like all you need wrapped in one upfront price. So usually this is the hotel accommodation, the food, which would be your dinner, bed and breakfast. And, it does almost always offer value for the South Africans that have gotten used to that sort of packaging. And like you mentioned, earlier when you were introducing the topic, certainly the value that comes with it, because you have drinks included, usually the soft drinks, the coffees, the teas, and the select, alcoholic beverages. It's not always all of them that are included. And depending on the resort, some activities as well are included as part of an all-inclusive package, and it depends what resort is it. But yeah, you may have some activities being included, definitely.
So that's the way I experienced it when we had a family trip to Mauritius. And what was great about it, Lynette, as you said, was all of those activities. If the kids asked, can we try X, Y, or Z, the answer was always yes, because it was already included in the package. There was no having to worry about, sure, how's this going to escalate the cost of the holiday kind of thing. They could try windsurfing, they could try water skiing or snorkeling, not scuba diving, but snorkeling, for example. And particularly when we tried this with younger children, the nice thing was they could test it out, and if they don't like it, they can walk away without you feeling like you've wasted your money on a very expensive full day excursion that they've walked away from in an hour, for example. So it's a really lovely way to get particularly younger children to experiment a little bit and try new things. As an aside, in our case, Lynette, the best ever thing for me about our first all-inclusive package was what it did in terms of menu options for us, because we could say to our kids, I know you've never tried this dish before. Give it a bash, and if you don't like it, you can choose something else on the buffet or a toasted sandwich instead. But everything has been paid for up front, so there's no reason to think, well, I'm not going to waste my money buying a plate of that pasta in case they don't like it, and then we've wasted all that money. It's that kind of mind shift you get to make of saying it's all taken care of and we can try what we want to do. It does come at a cost up front, of course. How significant is the difference in costing generally? Obviously, it's going to differ from resort to resort and where in the world you are and what the currency fluctuations are like. But in general, do you find it is a value for money proposition to say we will do it this way? Because I know the one sort of counter argument I often hear is, well, I don't really drink a lot anyway, so there's no point in paying for a package that includes unlimited wine and beer, for example.
I mean, look, it all depends on how you look at it, right? So if you have an all-inclusive package, like you mentioned, you don't have to stress about forking out money from your pocket while you're overseas and calculating the rates of exchange, your bank charges, the works, and obviously having buyer's remorse if your kids try out something and now you've wasted money and paid for it, but it's all included. I suppose one of the other disadvantages, though, that you might have, because some all-inclusive packages are only restricted to like a buffet style of eating. However, a lot of resorts are kind of opening up to like a la carte options, for eating. So that could be one. And then the other thing is, obviously, as travelers, if you pay an all-inclusive price, what that might do is, you will stay in the resort bubble and you don't really get to explore, some of the other locations, in and around the resort. So that might be seen as a disadvantage. But however, there's ways to, when you think of it, to kind of like have a mixed blend. Yes, you've got the all-inclusive, but also look at some other excursions outside of the location, just to explore a little bit more. Yeah, but absolutely, I think there is quite a lot of value, I think, to be gained, and you can pay a deposit and pay the balance usually over a few months, depending on those conditions. But we do believe, because a lot of South Africans prefer or they do value that all-inclusivity that's offered by a resort. Yeah, and it's not only the holiday resorts, hey, it's the cruising as well. That's like a luxury holiday on the seas that is all-inclusive most of the time. So it's still another type of holiday, but that offers an all-inclusive option as well, which is really great.
Just for anybody who's come in midway to this conversation, our guest joining me on the line is Lynette Machiri of Flight Centre. She's their customer experience leader, talking to us about the concept of all-inclusive holiday packages, where you book upfront, pay a one-time cost that covers everything, including your accommodation, your dining, select activities, and often selected drinks as well. And again, I just want to say, if anybody listening has explored this already and wants to give an opinion on whether it was worthwhile, what you enjoyed about it, perhaps what you didn't enjoy about it, you're very welcome to weigh in with a WhatsApp to 072 567 1567. A lot depends on where the resort is and what facilities it's going to offer you, obviously, Lynette. But do you want to talk to us a little bit about a couple of examples? I mean, you've mentioned cruising being one, but are there particular countries or destinations or hotel groups that do this very well? Obviously, I've mentioned in the start, Club Med were the very first to introduce this decades ago. Are there any particular ones you want to mention that listeners should maybe explore?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So obviously from a resort, Mauritius is a very popular destination for us South Africans. So you've got Beachcomber Holidays. They offer, I think, 8 beautiful properties where you have all-inclusive packages that also come, with booking those destinations. It's a seaside resort, so you are going to experience beautiful beaches, all inclusive, and like you mentioned, kids clubs, some of the resorts. So it's absolutely, of great value. And Solana as well. It's another resort in Mauritius that offers all inclusive package holidays. And then from a cruising perspective, you do have MSC. South Africans love, booking cruises on MSC. They go internationally, cruising in the Med. It's very popular at the moment. We're getting a lot of inquiries for that. So, it's one of the cruise liners that do offer an all-inclusive package. So, it's all of those that you can consider, for great value and convenience for traveling, especially families and couples that want to avoid, the hassle of booking individual items.
And I just have to say again, there is such a lot to be said for going on holiday and arriving and locking your wallet in the safe and never having to take it out again until you leave for the airport. The other thing for those with kids is you never have to worry about what the kids have signed to the room without your knowledge, which is something that a lot of people learn about the hard way, Lynette. So it's a very, very tempting offer if you are traveling with kids. You've mentioned a couple of things that you might expect to be excluded. Let's just circle back there. There might be, if not outright exclusions, there might be limitations. So the activities, for example, might include non-motorized water sports. But if you want to go skiing or scuba diving, something that requires a more expensive boat trip, for example, that would be at an extra cost. Booze, you've mentioned that sometimes you'll be limited to either soft drinks and teas and coffees or to a limited range of alcohol, but not to premium brands and not to hard spirits, for example. It's going to vary from place to place. Lynette, is there anything else that you need to just be aware of to ask whether it's included or not?
I suppose gratuities is one of them. So if you are, some all-inclusive packages may include gratuities, or it may be like a separate cost, like especially if you're looking at, booking a cruise, it's important to always check, the cruising expert, whether, your all-inclusive cost includes that or not. But certainly sometimes also even at hotel resorts, this may have to be like an outside cost of what you would have paid for. But generally also like the meals, buffet versus a la carte. So it's also great. And also selection of restaurants. Some hotel resorts have a wide array of restaurants that they offer on site, but because of your all-inclusive package, maybe you're restricted to a select few of those restaurants, and then perhaps you have to pay in to go into a different restaurant that's outside of your package. I was in Cancun the 1 year, and we were restricted to a select group of restaurants, and then the ones outside you would have to pay visiting those restaurants. So there are all those considerations generally to make, and it's great to ask the questions, when you're making the booking, just to make sure you are in the know of what it is that you're covered for.
And also just want to add, my experience was with the Beachcomber Resort, and a nice thing to know is that some of them have reciprocal deals. So Lynette, you mentioned that for some people the drawback is that you're kind of stuck in the bubble. You never leave the resort you're in because you've paid for everything there and you don't want to go and waste money outside. But some of them have reciprocal deals. I know the Beachcomber properties, I heard somebody discussing the fact that they could go and play golf at one of the other golf courses, for example, or you could have a meal at one of the nearby hotels in the group that was still covered by your package. Deborah tells me I did an 8-day guided hike in Turkey with a group of friends, which was an all-inclusive basis, all accommodation and meals included. It made it so painless, not having to worry about dividing meal costs or deciding where to eat, etc. So it was a real winner. That's a really excellent point, Deborah. Thanks. If you're traveling as a larger group, it simplifies matters so much. If you're able to do that. Thanks for that. Keith asking, are any of these packages packages available in South Africa, or they're only for overseas visits? Well, Keith, by middle of next year, 2026, you'll have a Club Med outside Belito that I would guess will probably offer a variation of their famous all-inclusive package. But Lynette, are there already facilities within South Africa that offer this kind of experience?
I mean, look, it's usually with our overseas destinations where we do have resorts offering that, obviously, because you're coming in, you're paying in not foreign currency, but you're coming from a country of a different currency. But certainly, I mean, look, our travel experts would always inquire, and those rates would generally be available from a lot of resorts, but it's to always make an inquiry to see, what the availability looks like. But a lot of South African resorts generally are sold at a bed and breakfast rate. But certainly there are opportunities to include dinner and lunch if, you so wish. And then obviously when it comes to the drinks, always inquiries. That's what we generally recommend for local hotel bookings. Yeah.
If anybody listening has had an all-inclusive package experience within South Africa and you want to tell us where you enjoyed that, please let us know. I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure the Cavern in the Drakensberg offers that option for the all-inclusive family, certainly for accommodation and meals included. And I think Gazi River Bungalows will do the same, if I'm not mistaken. But if anybody else has had that experience, please do let us know. Also, a very good question, if I can just get back to this. Felicity emailing me, wondering, are there any packages that are fully all-inclusive, meaning that your flights and visa costs are also covered? Has anybody got that advanced, Lynette?
You do have, like, for instance, Beachcomber, right? Their packages usually will include flights, the resort, and, those transfers. And obviously, we do package and give a price, including flights and transfers, if in that sense of all-inclusive, means that you're getting a bundled pricing upfront for all of the components of your travel, definitely that you can obtain. And you can have, it probably is more of a one-stop shop option where you're having everything booked and done for you by one expert that puts all of that together for you. There is that option, yes, absolutely. But what it then just means is that you're booking everything with one person, I would say.
Lynette Machiri, thank you so much. We do have to wrap there to go to news. We so appreciate your input this afternoon. Lynette is the customer experience leader at Flight Centre South Africa.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Lynette Machiri, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.